Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have a letter to read to you. And I've thought about this for a little while because I wasn't really sure exactly how I was going to use it, if I was going to use it. But it's from a gentleman named Alan Weinberg, who some of you, if you're follow the Coin World news or you follow some of the auctions, you'll recognize the name. He had an auction in January of 2019, and then again in 2020. January of 2020 go down, and he had some major coinage sell at Heritage Auction, and he is the type of collector who has coins that you and I probably could only dream of. And I was really I don't know, shall I say surprised that I got an email from him regarding one of our videos we made about PCGS and NGC having too much power, and he has some suggestions. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that he also had a lot of the same content that he put into the Coin World magazine, which is one of the reasons why I feel comfortable reading it. And also he said, this is my opinion based on attending literally thousands of shows and auctions and over 62 years of examining hundreds of thousands of American coins. You may use any and all of the above for your own use, attributed or not. What I like about this is here's a guy who has no need necessarily to be anything but anonymous. He could just be, when you think of sometimes guys who sell at this auction houses and they have a huge collection and they actually have their name on it, and you think that they're kind of ego-driven. And from what I can tell, this is kind of the opposite. And I realize there are some ego-driven collectors, but I don't think that that's necessarily based on the price point on the coins that you collect. I know a lot of ego-driven collectors who collect coins that are not that expensive. And one of my favorite things that he says is, every single one of my coins and metals were raw until consigned to Heritage for auction. I, along with most old-time collectors, hate slabs, but we realize to get market price when sold, they have to be slabbed. Old-time collectors are not so much interested in value, but in aesthetics, histories, and pride of ownership. Slabbing is solely market value and ego related. So it's interesting to me because I know there's a lot about the markets that's different than it used to be, because as you get more and more collectors in, many of them are so used to just you collect coins that are graded, they're slabbed, and that's how things are. So they perceive it differently than someone who's been collecting a long time. Now, Mr. Weinberg's been collecting for over 60 years. He just sold a 1792 silver cent and silver cent, and his gem unk 1793 Ameri cent, etc. So these are coins that he's had for half a century. He's had for decades and decades. And very much so, the idea that you as a collector are at any price point are collecting a piece of history and you are maintaining it is something that the hobby, it's very important to the hobby. And one of my arguments about and against slabbing coins is that it has what I call the commodification. It turns it into a commodity. So instead of you knowing about the coin and then looking for the coin and trying to find it at shows or wherever, what happens is instead you look at something cool, you're like, oh, let me read the label so I know what it is. And unfortunately, we are creating a lower and lower information buyer, so to speak, lower information collector instead of a higher information collector. So I don't get into really the nitty-gritty sub-varieties on things like Ike dollars or what have you, but I respect the people that are in the Ike group because they have that passion and they learn all the little die varieties. And this is true of anything. That's just one example. So I'm making a point about the difference between low information and what the grading companies have done for the market. Now, specifically to some of Alan's, Mr. Weinberg's charges or ways that he said, I think you can improve the grading systems this way. This is a little bit like John Elway saying, football has some problems. I think I can help you. Here's my suggestions. So here's from someone who knows what he's talking about. Eliminate the registry set concept, which is entirely ego-driven and the sole cause of the dramatic price difference in the plus category and in the MS66 on up, significant market price differences from one grade, half a point up. Bravo for this point. I know that a lot of people like the registry sets. This is simply ego driven. You are not collecting to establish a collection for yourself. And it is the pride of ownership is no longer a personal thing that you're going for. It is now, I'm going to beat you. You know, and anytime, this is a brilliant marketing campaign for NGC and PCGS, you know, to assign value and basically make it into a game for people to compete against one another. You know, that pride and ego thing is absolutely involved. I've known guys who've had number 2 registry sets on certain things, on a couple different series actually. And it's interesting because these guys were collecting before registry sets, so you know they didn't necessarily start with that in mind. But I will say that since then, that's exactly how they collect. They look at the point tally. They want to get that extra half a point because it creates some mysterious value that they can beat the next guy with. All right, separate the greater categories and staff into modern coin and mass submitted coins like silver dollar bags, great rarities and lower grade common coins, etc. A grader can go blind mass grading large quantities of one after another of the same type of coin, like silver dollars. You know, he or she must be recirculated into another coin category with regularity. This is a pretty common sense point, basically about when you look at a coin. If you look at thousands of the same coin over and over again, you get eye fatigue. You start to not grade as accurately. This is simply something that, as someone who's looked at a lot of coins, I totally understand. If I go through a really large group of coins, if they're all similar type coins, it's all just Morgan dollars or Washington quarters, I know that I'm not grading as accurately at the back half of the group as I was at the front half of the group. So you need to be rotating through different types of coins on a regular basis. Eliminate the grading of newly minted coins and metals to most, as almost all will be MS or proof 68 to 70 anyway, and exist in such quantities that grading is both exhausting to the grader and results in huge unnecessary differences in auction values due to a few maniacal ego-driven collectors, investors, when the senses of such high-grade modern mintage pieces will dramatically change over a short period of time. I love this point. This is spot on. So this is, you know, he puts it in a good way, because I've thought about this, and I don't like modern graded coins. I don't like anything that was made and kept in mint state and was never made as a circulating coin. So you're talking about any modern proofs and Kamems and silver eagles, and this is where I think artificial intelligence really should take over, because man, you should be able to send those silver eagles through a scanner and give some quality. I actually would create a completely different grading scale for them. There's no point in trying to get them graded any other way but with a scanner to say, you know, we give this out of a 0 to 100, we give this coin 100, it's flawless. And then if people want to bid coins up at Heritage Auction or some other place on eBay, because I think it is somewhat ego-driven, I have to have the nicest coin. That's it. You know, so be it. So let them do that. But this will cut down on eye fatigue. And if you collect these modern graded coins, you know that you can buy something on eBay or some other sight unseen place. Maybe you don't have a good picture, and it'll say MS70, and you'll get it, and you'll be like, okay, I can see the spots. And then you get something else that'll come in MS69, and you're like, this coin is flawless, right? So, and that's probably because of eye fatigue. I mean, the graders are going through these one after another, right? So I absolutely agree. I mean, you should have a completely different department doing that stuff, and I think computers should do it. And I'd even argue for a separate grading system for modern coins. Reserve CAC approval to only pre-1950 coinage. You know, this is one man in his business, and this is a touchy subject. I'm not going to dive into it. I'm not a big CAC fan, as many of you know. Eliminate the plus category, bingo, which will significantly reduce the resubmission volume. No one can tell the difference between a solid grade number and a plus and the next grade point up anyway. It's pure imagination. This I like a lot. And look, I agree. I hate the plus designation. Call it a 64, call it a 65. The plus designation is something that came into place, you know, whatever, a decade ago, maybe longer now. And it's really just, it's silly. It's just silly. Just call it a 4 or a 5. You know, don't call it a plus. It's created all this extra nonsense in the marketplace. When a coin is resubmitted for reconsideration, have a different set of 3 graders examine it than the original set of 3, which means the original grader of a coin must be documented. So this is really cool because I agree, you've got to have documentation. You've got to have different guys look at the coin, because if you have the same guys look at the coin over and over again, then what's the point? This has been one of my when I choose to not resubmit a coin, or wait months, because waiting months I kind of get the feeling that someone different may look at the coin, because you know, if you have the same guys looking at the coin, they're going to come out with the same responses. All right. All right. So next he goes on to having specialized graders for colonials and things like that. Back to the concept of grading submissions of half bags or large quantities, someone else other than the people who are normally grading whatever type coins are coming through. These are really internal concepts. Establish a group of talented foreign or ancient coin graders. Different from the American, they've also already moved that way. Most of your grading companies have their own separate category of graders, so you don't have the guy looking at Morgan dollars then looking at pesos. Usually it is different guys from there. So anyway, this was a fantastic letter, and I really appreciate Alan Weinberg sending it to us to talk about coin grading and his opinions about what should be done in the coin market and the coin grading with coin grading companies. And hopefully this is something that gives you pause and something to think about. Leave your comments down below in the box. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.